We're now going to show you how to create an invoice from within an opportunity. The first step is to add products into an opportunity. I'm going to select the development work, developer on-site per day product, enter in my quantity, and click Save. When it's time to invoice, we can see we have the invoices related list in the corner. We're going to click on New Invoice, where it's going to load our custom invoice page. We can see here this is when we enter in our invoice date, our invoice due date. If we need a custom invoice number, we can enter it in here. And this is also where we select where our amounts are either tax inclusive, exclusive, or no tax. We can see that the invoice is brought in our line items. If there's multiple line items, we can change the order of them. We are also able to edit these line items. If you're only invoicing for 5 of these units, we can change the quantity. We can also change the unit price, and if there's also any discount percentages, you can also add them in here and update that line item. This is especially helpful for deposit or progress invoices. Once you're happy with the way that everything looks within this invoice, we can choose whether to create a draft invoice in Xero or an approved invoice in Xero. In this example, I'm going to create a draft invoice only. When we click the button, it takes us to our invoice record, where we can see that the invoice is not yet synced with Xero. Our periodic sync every 15 minutes will get this invoice and then upload it to Xero. Let's see what that looks like once it's synced. We can now see that after our 15-minute sync, we have a link to view the invoice in Xero, which means there's been a successful sync between Salesforce and Xero. We can now go over into Xero and see this invoice in our draft list. Our accounts team can now go in and approve this invoice. Now that the invoice is approved, the status of approved will also sync through into Salesforce once everything syncs again. We're going to come back in a few minutes and we'll see that our invoice will be updated to be approved. We can now see that our invoice status has changed and also the icon to show that it's been approved. In this invoice record, we can also see in our related list any line items and any payments that have been taken. Once the invoice has been synced with Xero, we can also download a copy of the invoice directly from Salesforce. I'm going to click the Download Invoice from Xero button, which gives us a prompt to either download it to our computer which we can see has downloaded it. Alternatively, we can also attach a copy of the invoice directly into Salesforce. In Salesforce, it gets stored under the Related tab under Files. This means you don't need to give access into Xero to your team in order to download and send invoices to customers. We're going to fast forward and pretend that a payment has been made against this invoice and the payment has been reconciled on the Xero side. We've now marked this invoice as paid within Xero, and we can see that the payment record has then synced with Salesforce. We'll also see in the Details tab we have a new invoice status icon to show that it's been paid. The invoice has been marked as paid, and we can also see the amount that has been paid to date. Once again, we can build reports and dashboards on any of this information because it lives within Salesforce.